Welcome back to 755 is real. I'm David O'Brien, breeze writer at The Athletic, and I'm with my co-host Eric O'Flaherty. What's up, Eric?
What's up, Dave?
Can you believe Chipper is 51 today, man?
No, I was trying to think how old he was when I played with him, but he was 38, I think, or 39 the first year I played with him. But time flies.
The kid, as he used to refer to himself.
Time flies.
I miss the kid, man. I get to see him at home games.
Griffey's like 55 now.
Yeah. Chipper looks great, man. See him at home games. I mean, he doesn't look like a kid anymore, but
he was so much more pleasant after he was done playing.
Chipper?
Yeah, he's just so much more laid back. You know, you could tell he handles everything well, but there was a lot of pressure on him for a long time.
Yeah. Well, he had such a spotlight, so much scrutiny. And a lot of it brought upon himself, and he'd be the first to admit that. Some of the stupid things he did off the field early on and all that, just on top of being, one of the most talented 5 players in the league at the time, and a brash personality. But it was all part of Chipper. It was all part of the Chipper experience.
Yep.
He's beloved here, man.
Yeah.
Because he stayed here. Everybody knows he turned down a lot of money, could have gone elsewhere, stayed here, true to Atlanta's, lived here his whole, since he went pro. Never moved back anywhere else. So, and he's such a straight shooter, and I think people appreciate that. I know I do.
Especially today.
Yeah, exactly. With all the bullshit out there, he's like,
yep,
he's a straight shooter, man. You know where you stand with him.
Yep.
Right, Dusty? Jesus. Dusty just like waited for us to start and jumped in. She knows she's a star. Right, Dusty? All right.
Just like a kid.
All right. Well, it was a rough weekend for the Bravos, but you know what? It was almost bound to happen. The bullpen is tired. They're getting a couple of big guys back. They get Colin McHugh back, I think today, if not today, tomorrow. Iglesias, they've gone out. People forget they've gone without their best reliever all year so far. Ronald Iglesias is their best reliever. Yeah. He was the best reliever in the majors last year after the trade deadline, and he's been out since the last week of spring training with the shoulder inflammation. He's going to be back for much longer. He's supposed to throw live BP today, which means not too far. I'd say a couple of weeks. And they really need him because that bullpen has been great this year, but they've rode a few guys really hard.
How much work did he get in spring training? Did he get in any games?
Iglesias?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did before the shoulder thing.
Okay, then he could be ready pretty quick.
Yeah, he looked good before the shoulder thing. Obviously they're being careful with him because once they get him back, they don't want to have any kind of a relapse with this thing. So I think once he gets back, he should be fine. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the bullpen has done a phenomenal job, but this weekend they did not. I mean, they were 13-0 when they scored first in games before losing back-to-back games like that Saturday and Sunday. And they hadn't even blown a lead. They hadn't even lost a game in which they led, I think, before Friday. So they've done it 3 times now. So they, I don't think it's anything for people to get all, freaked out about. Yeah, you got a few guys slumping right now. That was bound to happen. You had everybody going at once. It kind of lulls you because you have everybody going at once and you think that's going to happen all year, but it's not. It's not realistic. And remember, the Astros were sub 500 before they came to town. Yeah. And the Astros are damn good.
Yeah, they're not going to stay that way.
The Braves are still 14-8. So, yeah, it's the only weird thing to me, and it's still really small sample size, is the home road thing. But a lot of that has to do with 7 of your home games came against the Padres
and the
Astros.
Yeah.
And you only had one gimme home series against the Reds, and they swept the Reds, which they should have done. But they only won one of those other 7 games against the Padres and Astros. And what stinks is 7 sellouts this year already. Those 7 against the Padres and Astros. They've lost the last 6 of those games.
Sucks.
They won opening day against the Padres. They've lost 7. They've lost 6 in a row sellouts. That's like 41,000 or more, and they've lost them all. Which, yeah, if you're a Braves player, if you're a Braves front office person, if you're a Braves ticket person, you're going, damn, because you hate getting all those people in this incredible atmosphere and then sending them home. A lot of people went to every one of those games, so sell season ticket, and you send them home with a loss at each of those big games that everybody's keyed up for.
Yeah, but they're going to it's not going to keep happening like that.
Right. They'll go on a run where they'll win all those games,
Yeah.
That's the beauty of baseball, man. Everybody always forgets. It's so hard because you're coming off football season. It's so hard
To adjust. Yeah.
to adjust to 10 games equals one football game, one NFL game.
Yeah.
As far as percentage of a season, 10 games. So one weekend against the Astros is the equivalent of just over one quarter of one football game.
Yeah. Yeah. But, it's all like that in the baseball season, trying to remember how long it is. And, you analyze all this stuff and people get worked up over it, and players ride the wave too sometimes. But, if you're a smart player, you're able to take any rough week or weekend or a reliever giving up a 4 spot or blowing a couple saves and just know that, it's about the overall body of work and you got all kinds of time. And it's fortunate that, as a player, if you have that ride the roller coaster mindset, those are the guys who get destroyed by a long season. Mm-hmm. And you need lots of guys in the clubhouse that just know how to stay even keel for 162, and you're going to be fine.
Unfortunately, they have a lot of guys like that who've been through this, and a lot of guys that have been, not a lot, but some guys that have been on the last 2 teams that started out, that were under 500 through 20 games or 18 games. And last year's team was 10 and a half back at the end of May. So they don't have to look far to talk to people to know that this means nothing, 3 games. Yeah, you want to win those games, but it's not a big setback, They just got to get some guys going again. Olsen, Riley, they were helping carry the offense early. They're both slumping right now. The only guy that has maintained from that top 3 that has kept doing what he's been doing is Acuña, who's playing like an MVP right now. He's been phenomenal, just phenomenal.
He's the difference in this year versus last year.
Yeah.
If you tried to sell him last year as the most talented player in the game, you'd get some pushback.
Right.
But watching him this year, I don't think anybody can watch. I mean, half the stuff, every inning almost, it feels like he does something, whether it's throwing a ball in from the outfield or getting on base and stealing a bag. And they can't even throw it. It's lob it back to the pitcher. Like, that bag's taken. He's just, it's night and day. And it's like, it's so easy to forget in this game. Just like Soroka. If Soroka comes back and he's himself again, how easy is it to forget how great he was when he came up. And Acuña's the same way. You get to watch him for a few years be the most dynamic player in the game. And then last year, he's probably playing at 65%. He's still good, but you see him at 100% this year, and it's another level.
The guy's stolen 12 bases and only been caught 2 times. 14 attempts, 12 stolen bases. Nobody else in the majors is in double digits yet.
I really want him to get to 40-40. That'd just be cool to watch.
Yeah. He's got 3 homers now, but he's had a couple other warning track shots. The 40's not out of the question at all. He'll get on one of those rolls where he has
12 in 2 weeks.
Right, exactly. So, but right now he is one off the major league leader runs scored. He's got 20 runs in 22 games. He's got 11 RBIs, batting leadoff. He is hitting. He's second in the majors, qualified hitters, 374. Behind Arez, the defending AL batting title guy who's doing the same thing with Miami. Arez might go from winning batting title in the AL to winning in the NL the next year.
Has anybody ever done that?
I don't think so. I think I saw a stat the other day. I don't think it's happened. Big thing about Acuña too, 452 OBP.
He's having good at bats.
Great at bats. He really is, especially in the first inning. He's only got 2 strikeouts in the first inning all year.
Which, having his legs back and having his bat speed back and his power back, you're just that much less likely to chase a pitch that you don't feel like you have to get started early or cheat to anything. And when he's locked in, he doesn't. His hands are so quick.
He is 10th in the majors in OPS 1,012, just behind teammate Sean Murphy. It was 9th at 1,033. So those guys have continued the same pace. Murphy got hot, and he's been the hottest guy lately, and along with Acuña. But you wanted to talk yesterday. You messaged me when it happened about yesterday. Mentor did a great job early on, as until several games recently. Mentor has been filling in for Iglesias at closer, and it's done a really good job. But we've been reminded that Mentor is maybe one of the best setup guys in the majors, no doubt. But the closer role is unique, man, and not everybody can excel in that for the course of a year. And I think Mentor's fine in the closer role, but he's not a closer. He's a setup guy. And yesterday he comes up against Alvarez in a really big situation. Comes in, 8th inning, bases are loaded. With 2 outs, the Astros had loaded the bases against Nick Anderson. Bring in Mentor, lefty to face Alvarez with the Braves leading 2-0. And what ensued?
Well, I wouldn't say he can't be a closer, but I think there's an area he can get better, and it's those. Alvarez is a tough matchup for him because Alvarez is one of those lefties that's not fazed by the angle, and he stays in there on the breaking ball. He stays on it. He can, he's got the comfort of being able to drive the ball out to left center if he needs to. And so for AJ, this is what I learned after my first 3 years in the big leagues, when I faced the really tough lefties like a Joey Votto, Todd Helton, David Ortiz, these guys that stayed on the breaking ball, you have to be able to tie them up inside. And everything AJ throws goes away from Alvarez. His fastball, his four-seamer, it's got a little baby cut to it, and then he throws the hard cutter. And that is something that if you throw that combo, if you're left-handed, you got a good fastball, good breaking ball like AJ does, you're going to get 90% of lefties out by default. But then these certain lefties come up that aren't fazed by it, like a Joey Votto or Adrian Gonzalez was really good at it. And those are the guys that you have to be able to run something in on their hands and keep them honest. And that's the one pitch that, he has the changeup to righties. Right. So he does fine against righties because he could tie him up inside, and then flash him that changeup, and that keeps him honest. But he doesn't have that in on the hands, belt high, sinker or something he could throw in there against those lefties. So, I mean, he's an awesome freaking reliever. There's no doubt. You can nitpick this little thing all day, but if I were him against a guy like Alvarez, you have to tie him up inside. And if you watch those at bats, it was like he really didn't have anywhere to go against Alvarez. Alvarez was on every pitch, and then he finally made a mistake and he got him twice. To your point, Alvarez, who's hardly a typical hitter, he had 6 homers and 900 OPS this season, which is actually down quite a bit from last season. When he had 306 with 37 bombs, I think last year. Had 1,019 OPS last year, finished 3rd in the AL MVP behind Judge and Ohtani. I mean, this guy's a monster. It's tough break being in the league with those two. Yeah. And the thing is, Alvarez, again, to your point, is hitting better against lefties than righties this year. He's hitting 370 with 1,083 OPS and 27 ABs against lefties. Yeah, I haven't looked up AJ splits. I want to look them up, but it's kind of the same thing. You get so many just layup lefties. Like I would get to face them all the time. Those bottom of the order lefties, if you just throw them a good slider, they just struggle with the angle and you get them out. But when he's in that at bat against a guy like Alvarez, who isn't fazed by the angle and actually likes the angle, he likes that ball going away from him. Like a righty sinker, he likes that. So I would guess when righties get Alvarez out, it's either fastballs up in the zone or back foot sliders. And this is the first guy Mentor's facing coming out of the pen with the bases loaded. So he can't even pitch around him, and be careful with him. Right. So it's, for me, more than anything, AJ just got put in a tough spot. He's got to be the guy there. It's just unfortunate. If he would have come in against a different part of the Astros lineup 2 days in a row, we might not even be talking about the bullpen at all. And they were resting, by the way, Dylan Lee yesterday. Yep. Everybody was wondering why Danny Young was in there in the 9th inning. Dylan Lee was resting. It was down. Snit, to his credit, when he's got a guy as a sign he's down today, he doesn't get anxious or nervous and go, I know I told you you're off today, but we really need you here. He doesn't do that. And Dylan Lee, they're being careful because you saw what happened. Dylan Lee and Chavez were both tied for the major league lead in appearances at one point, like a week ago. Each of them had pitched in over half the Braves games, like 10 out of 19 games. Yeah. Chavez gets lit up in that next time out. Dylan Lee, I think, has pitched great. He hasn't had one of those outings yet. And I think Snit wants to make sure, because this guy's too valuable. He is. So he was down the last 2 days. That's why you see Danny Young in there in a tie game in the 9th inning and just blew up on him. But this AB Mentor against Alvarez, he goes to 1-1 against him, throws him a 1-1 cutter that was down and away, and Alvarez scorched it. 2-run line drive single with 2 out. I mean, that's pretty special. It's just a comfortable at bat for him because of how you have it in baseball. You have guys that just match up well against you, and that's what I mean is it's not the best at bat for AJ stuff. I mean, he might even the really hard part is if you get burned lefty changeup, you look like an idiot because everybody said it forever. It's a down and in lefty swing. You can't throw it in there. There's not a lot of room for error, but even just bouncing one middle in, just throwing him anything off that angle coming into him might mess him up. But when it's just all going away, he's so comfy just leaning out and either hooking that slider or going with the fastball to left center that he's not doing a lot to really make him uncomfortable.
AJ said, it's just frustrating. That's all it is. Going back, I don't know what I could change. Just went out there and made some pretty good pitches. That's baseball. I know y'all probably want a better answer than that. I wish I could give you one. I wish I knew. I can't be too discouraged about it because I thought I made some pretty good pitches. The ball was just hit where we weren't. Just got to chalk that one up and be ready to go when Snick calls my name tomorrow to be ready to pitch.
Yeah, and you have to have that mindset. You can't be sitting there beating yourself up or as good as AJ's been, have a couple bad games and start changing things. Because the stuff he's throwing up there, I mean, if he throws it up there all year, he's going to have a good season.
Yeah. What made it rough was obviously it's the series finale at home and you get swept. And you blew a great start by Max Fried, who that's the most encouraging thing of the day was that's 2 in a row for Fried since he came off the IL. And as Snit said, Max is back. I mean, just like when he came off the IL in 21, he came back from that stronger than he'd been before. He'd only made one start opening day before this one, but he looked fantastic the last two, especially yesterday. He went 6 2/3 scoreless yesterday, 3 hits, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts, lowered his ERA to 0.60. That's 2 scoreless starts since he came back from the IL.
Yeah, and he's bouncing off the mound too. That hamstring's not bothering him. There was a ball to third base I think Riley came up with, but Max almost got there. It was kind of a chopper to Riley at third. And Max, I'm always shocked how much ground Max covers off the mound.
Yeah.
He's a good athlete.
Mentor, he came in, allowed the 2 inherited runners to score, and then he gave up 3 runs in the 9th because they brought in Danny Young after Mentor just couldn't get anybody out. He struck out. Let's see, did he get he gave up a infield hit or I'm sorry, ground ball single to start the 9th, then got a strikeout looking, then walked a guy, then got another strikeout, then gave up a 2-out hit. This one hurt to Corey Julks, who was pinch hitting, which drove in a run. Then they brought in Danny Young. Danny Young hits the first guy. I think it was leg, back of the back foot, one of those. Then gives up a 2-run single to Bregman, who can do that to you especially if you're not an experienced guy. I mean, that was a rough spot for Danny Young to be in. He was in over skis, man. That's just not what he's done. He doesn't have that experience in his career. He's a 29-year-old rookie.
Yeah, and that's for me. That's where I give Snick credit. And it's like what you talked about, not using Dylan Lee or beating somebody else up there. Right. I think it's easy, in a vacuum to ask why in the world did you make this move? But
right. And he got ripped, and he knew he'd get ripped on social media and all that.
That's what I love about him is he doesn't care if he gets ripped.
Right.
And that pays off over 162.
Right.
When your bullpen's fresh in August, nobody's going to look back at this game and when the bullpen's lights out and goes on a tear and carries you for a month in August, nobody's going to look back and be like, oh, now I remember this game. I'm glad he rested these guys and didn't beat them up. But even as a reliever, there was plenty of times in my career where I was supposed to be down or I was emergency only. And then the game sped up on a manager and you're the first guy to the pen. And that more than anything, then you don't even get to enjoy your days off. You don't even get to throw light. They tell you you're down today and you're like, I don't know if I'm down or not. I might as well long toss and treat it like a game. You don't recover as much. So it over the full season, carrying that stress and throwing a little extra on those days kind of tallies up on you. And
I think that's where having a manager, an experienced manager, a manager who's on a multi-year deal or a manager who doesn't really give a crap, he doesn't care. Yeah, he's got the gravitas. He's got a multi-year deal, and if his career ended tomorrow, it was a hell of a career, But he's not one of these guys that's on a 1-year deal or trying to prove himself or is listening to all the guys in analytics, making all the moves based on that, nothing else. He's got a feel for his bullpen. And he trusts his bullpen coach to talk each day to all the relievers and tell them exactly where they are, and get to have the trust of those relievers to be honest about, I'm a little bit tired today. I mean, I'll take the ball if you want me to take it. I could use a day, that kind of thing. It's just a whole dynamic that they have that over the course of 162 is really crucial to managing a bullpen.
It really is, and it's something that never gets appreciated and kind of goes overlooked. But I can tell you, his relievers appreciate it.
And the irony is that the guys who get credited for running great bullpens, and in many cases they do run a great bullpen,
beat the shit out of their pens,
are based solely on the moves they make within a game. They brought in this guy to face this guy. Nothing to do with are they giving the guys proper rest and all that.
Yeah, and then when their bullpen falls apart, late in the season, the relievers just suck. Nobody looks back at their usage in April, May, and June.
Or a guy has TJ the next year, in spring training. You know.
Well, I've just looked up AJ. I can't find his batting average against, but he's got a 2.4 whip against lefties and a 0.96 against righties.
Wow, that's surprising. As I said, Bryce could activate McHugh today. No announcement yet as of this recording, but I think it's coming. If not today, then tomorrow. He's made 2 appearances. The last one at Rome, by the way, 3 scoreless. He went 3 innings. That's how efficient he was. Did it like 30 pitches, 34 pitches, something like that. So he's ready. I mean, he could have kept pitching at the time.
Where was he pitching?
Rome.
Yeah, you throw his breaking ball and A ball.
Yeah.
It's like pitching against little leaguers.
Yeah. So he wasn't hurt bad when he went out at all. He could have kept pitching with that, but it was a combination of a little sore and needing to make a mechanical adjustment because he didn't pitch much in spring training at all. So that was the thing with him. So people don't have to really worry about that recurring. Getting those 2 backs is going to be huge. Chavez, like I said, has been tremendous. 10 appearances before he got lit up. He hadn't given up a run, and then he gives up 3 without recording an out in his 11th appearance.
That outing in San Diego was kind of a warning sign. I don't know if you paid attention to that inning or not, but there was a lot of hard hit balls that just found the glove, and I kind of saw that one and thought, shit, okay, he's been getting pitched a lot. But again, it's like, if you're Snit, he's one guy that isn't going to cry about it. If he pitches too much, he'll keep taking the ball. You beat him up and he blows out this year, he'll just ride off into the sunset. So he's a little different than a guy like Minner or Dylan Lee as far as usage.
We're just alluding to or circling back to that home road thing. Braves are 4-6, and I know this is a small sample size, but take this with a grain of salt or bucket of salt. But the Braves are 4-6 with a 5.04 ERA at home, ranks 24th in the majors. That's ahead of only the Red Sox, Reds, Royals, Rockies, White Sox, and A's. Most of the dregs of the majors. But as I said, 7 of their home games came against 7 of those 10 against the Padres and Astros. So on the road, though, the Braves are 10-2 with a 2.12 ERA that leads the majors. The Cubs, 2.42, are the only other team with a sub-3 ERA on the road. 2 of those series against the Nationals and Kansas City, 2 dregs. But he also had 6 games at Cardinals and San Diego, St. Louis and San Diego. So it's not like they're just doing it all against a bunch of crappy teams.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't always have to make sense. I mean,
it doesn't make sense.
For majority of my career, I pitched better on the road. It didn't make. I love the Turner Field mound. My favorite mound in the game. Didn't pitch as well off it. It never really seemed to add up or make any sense. I couldn't find any rhyme or reason to it, but hopefully,
some others didn't like that mound. The slope of it. Some other guys didn't like that mound.
I loved it. It was my favorite mound, but I didn't pitch as well at home. It didn't make any sense. Right. But I would say it's a little bit bigger deal when it's, you're the whole team's doing it when you're losing at home, because that's where you want to do your damage. You're always trying to split on the road. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. If you kick everybody's ass on the road and you battle at home, then you're a weird team, but it doesn't affect you. Right.
And we'll look at this halfway through the season. It's way too early to draw any conclusions, because that's all that takes is a few really bad games and your ERA's up where it is. So, but it's not just pitching. It's both sides of the ball. I mean, the Braves have hit 240 with a 717 OPS at home, 16th in the majors. Here's a weird one. They've only got 9 homers and 110 strikeouts, 40 runs in 10 games at home. That's 4 runs a game. 110 strikeouts in 10 games at home. That's 11 strikeouts a game.
Yeah.
9 homers, less than 1 a game. On the road, Braves have hit 263 with an 800 OPS. That ranks 3rd in the majors, 3rd best. They've hit 21 homers, struck out 104 times in 12 games on the road. So nearly 2 homers a game on the road. Scored 66 runs on the road. So 5.5 runs per game on the road, 4 at home. Go figure. I mean, it's a weird game.
Yeah. I mean, you can point to lots of things, and I would think about a lot of things. You know, there's less distractions on the road. There's less
especially for
going
young
on.
guys.
Yep.
And guys with 2 or 3 kids.
Yeah. And you get to get, I mean, for me, toward the end of my career, once I had kids, the road was just, I would double deadbolt that hotel room door, black out the curtains, and sleep till 11. Feel great by the time I got to the park. But you got a couple kids waking you up at 4 a.m. because they're hungry or can't sleep, or, you know, if a kid crawls into bed with you. My 5-year-old keeps getting in the bed with us, and he dreams like crazy. So he's shuffling, jumping around the bed, and wakes you up all night. You feel like you might as well have been out drinking.
And I think those huge, they've had great crowds, man. I think those huge home crowds, excited crowds, are going to really help them over the course of 162. But early on, it's probably pretty easy to get geeked up, maybe a little bit too geeked up, especially young pitchers who haven't pitched much in such situations like that.
Especially young guys. You know, I think that early on in your career, there's a thing about letting the home crowd down, you know, and trying to do too much in those big situations. You go on the road and everybody's against you, but you're not letting anybody down, but in the atmosphere of it, but your teammates, and you learn to just focus on your teammates as your career goes on and the game at hand. But it's pretty easy to get amped up at home, especially with those crowds. They have crazy crowds.
Yeah. Yeah, they've had incredible crowds. Snit on Dylan Lee. We had him off the last 2 days. He had thrown, I think, like 10 out of 18 days, something like that. We just got to be careful with these guys. They've carried a big load so far. Dylan, especially, to his credit, he's been very efficient as far as his pitches, but we got a long way to go. And at some point in time, you just got to stay away from them and let the other guys do it, because there's going to be a lot of important games before we're done. So we've just got to be careful with that. More on protecting the bullpen. I asked him about that. He said 17 games in a row. They play 17 in a row. They started after that off day on Thursday, and then they're 3 games into that stretch. He said that's tough, and these guys have done an unbelievable job. We played 3 weeks without any of these hiccups, and they're going to happen. It's going to give other guys in that bullpen opportunities in high-leverage situations, and in the long run, it could end up being a good thing, because when you're playing 17 in a row, you have to use everybody. But we're going to get Colin back soon, and Iggy's throwing a live BP today. So he's climbing the mountain to get back. So we've got options, and we're just going to fight through it.
Yeah. And, you know, those situations that you don't really get to sniff as a reliever, if you're a young guy or a rookie, you don't get better at them without getting in them. Yeah. Yeah. You know, it sucks when a game gets blown open like Sunday, but at the same time, the next time you get to pitch in that situation, you're able to control yourself. And you know, it's like your major league debut. You can't control it and handle those emotions until you've pitched in 2, 3, 4, 5 major league games, and then it starts to feel normal. But when you're only pitching mop-up duty, you know, there's a different vibe in the stadium.
Yeah. Max said, they blew the lead. Max said, I felt really confident handing over to the bullpen. They've been doing an incredible job all year. Just one of those games, playing a really good team. These guys, talking about the relievers, have picked us up big time, especially when us starters were only going, like me, for instance, only went into the 4th inning. We were having a lot of not even 5-inning outings, and they really picked us up. They're a big reason we have the record that we do. We're still extremely confident in those guys. And that's the kind of vibe they've had, you know, in the last few years, that never any finger pointing, starters looking at relievers like, you know, are off the record, rolling their eyes, none of that. That's where you can tell they got good chemistry, when those guys really are sincere about that kind of thing. And they do point out the bullpen, when the starters were really struggling earlier and leaving it. We talked about this. The pen was going like 5 innings a night. We're like, they can't do that. Keep doing that for too long. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Chemistry and clubhouse vibe, and just having good dudes in the clubhouse. Kelly was on here a week or so ago, and Kelly said something about, you know, you're with energy, you know, you're either giving energy or you're taking energy. You're either bringing it, you know, you're making it or taking it. He said something like that, and I held on to it, and I've applied it to my daily life. You know, if I go to play golf, or I go to a situation where everybody's kind of beat up from life, and, you know, their kids are a lot and they're down, you know, you show up and start cracking jokes and have a good vibe. You bring everybody up with you. And that's kind of what I think the Braves have had. I don't even know how many years now, but this whole tear they've been on, 5 years in a row. their vibe overall, they all just bring each other up. There's, like you said, there's no finger pointing, and that's how you get through that 162 game season.
AJ was talking about getting McHugh and Iglesias back. He said, I mean, we're already a strong bullpen. Having those two guys back is going to be a game changer. I believe we've done a terrific job just holding down the fort without those two guys, but we're definitely excited to have them back. They're going to be a big piece moving forward. And on the Astros have been, I think, the best team in baseball scoring from the seventh inning and later. I think Kelly Cruel pointed that out. And Mentor said they don't give up. And that's what it takes to be a World Series champion. That's what they were, but so are we. And we're not going to give up. We're going to keep going. We're still in good position. It's still early in the season. I'd rather take being in this position than where we were last year at this point. We're in a good spot.
Yeah, and the Braves do the same thing. You know, they fought to make something happen yesterday. It just didn't work. But you could still see that they're not going up there. It's really easy after a reliever comes in and opens it up to 3-run lead. I mean, how many times do you see the team just go out there, ground out, strike out on about 8 pitches, game over? Because you know you're probably losing. But the Braves don't do that, and it plays out over a long season.
He also said, talking about Alvarez, what we were talking about earlier, getting to that cutter outside, really almost on the outer edge of the zone. He said he's a big dude. He has long arms. He likes the breaking ball away. You just have to expand a little bit more, and he will chase it. What I was trying to do there, I was trying to throw a ball there, and I wanted it down. That's all I was trying to do to set up the fastball for the next pitch. Unfortunately, he got to it. It's frustrating because I executed what I wanted to do. It just didn't put him away.
Yeah, Alvarez is one of those guys that's just too big for baseball. You know, it's like anybody else hits that pitch. Like the ball he hit out off of AJ, anybody else hits that pitch, it's to the track. And you take a deep sigh and say, ooh, I got away with one. But with him being as giant as he is, it just carries another 20 feet and it's a home run.
He's a monster, man.
Beast.
But don't want to look past this one because he did it the day after our last show. But Bryce Elder, man, in the series opener, you talk about one of the most encouraging developments of the early season has been this guy who got an option to AAA midway through spring training. He's come up and done exactly what he did last year in those 5 starts late in the season, which, you know, everybody got excited about the rookies who were battling for that 5th spot in spring training. And he and Elder and Anderson got optioned down. Anderson subsequently got hurt, having TJ, but Elder has come back and just kept doing exactly what he did last year. But he pitched in the series opener against the Astros, 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 1 walk.
That's
really
the kicker.
Key for him. And 6 strikeouts.
Yeah.
You talk about a guy that makes the most of what he's got. He's up there, array of pitches, all of which he'll throw to anybody just about at any time and locate well.
Yeah. He runs into his strikeouts, but he's pitching to contact and he's being aggressive, which is – that's what we talked about with Dodd, you know, early on, and Schuster was nibbling, you know, getting behind, pitching away from contact and getting yourself into those positions where you either walk them or throw a cookie.
Yeah.
Elder's the opposite, and that's why he's a guy that they need to look to and say, this is how I have to do it. You know, if I'm going to get hurt, I'm getting hurt early with a strike, but I'm not going to let these guys see 5 or 6 pitches and get into a 3-1 count.
Yeah, Soroka has pitched really well the last couple of times out of AAA. But right now, I mean, Elder is not going anywhere if he keeps pitching like this. I mean, Soroka can't pitch better than Elder is right now. So something will happen. It always takes care of itself. Somebody will have a strain of this or that, and Soroka's going to get his opportunity. It's so good to see Soroka pitching well in AAA. Just keep doing that and be ready when they need him.
Yeah.
But Snit on that Elder outing, he said that because they had 2 or 3 guys on the first inning, and that's when he gave up his only run and got out of the jam, though. He said that first inning, I was thinking, oh, man, this could go either way. This is Snit. He said he did a great job limiting damage there. And then it's like he gets going, he gets into his rhythm and gets on a roll. It just feels like fills the strike zone up. And the stuff's good. He said it's great what he's doing. He's just been very consistent, kind of like he gets locked in there and focused. He works quick. The stuff's really good. It's good to see.
I'm trying to remember who. Oh, it was Leak. Do you remember the pitcher Leak with the Reds?
Yeah.
Mike Leak?
Yep.
Yeah. That's kind of.
That's a good comp.
Yeah. So for me, I remember watching Leak. He diced us up one day, and I asked Eric Kinski after the game. I was like, what's making that guy so good? He goes, everything's tight. You know, and that's what I feel about Elder. It's not, you don't see these big sweeping breaking balls or 97 flying across the zone. It doesn't look crazy on TV, but everything's crisp and he makes pitches.
That's a great comp. I remember that late guy. I remember him when he was on a big roll. Leak was. You looked at the numbers and then you saw him pitch, and you're like, doesn't do
89, 90.
Yeah, you're so used to looking at the gun and seeing what a guy's doing and something being obvious, whether it's spin rate or velo, and he didn't have those things. Like Elder doesn't really.
He's just, everything's crisp. It's tight movement. You know, I mean, a breaking ball that moves, say, I can't do it on the here, it's all messed up, but it 5 inches.
Yeah.
But it's late and tight. That messes hitters up just as much as that big sweeping breaking ball. And so when you watch him pitch, he's got tight sink, he's got a tight breaking ball, and he makes pitches and he fills up the zone. You can do really well like that without lighting up the gun.
Elder was talking about the difference in him last year, and ask him, is he just better equipped to limit the damage than when he first came up last year and he was walking too many guys? And he said, I think 100%. I know there was a walk there at the end of my outing this Friday, but just forcing them to beat me and not beat myself. I think I did that a lot last year, beat himself. I think I did okay. It was good, but it was just kind of holding myself back with throwing pitches out of the zone and try to trick them rather than just beat them in the zone. This year I've been able to get outs in the zone and trust myself and roll it out there.
That's what I always tell, especially young guys, but I always tell guys, it's like, if you're going down, go down in flames. Let's not walk one at a time. If there's 2 on, challenge the guy, make a tough pitch. If he hits it, he hits it. You go down with your pride. But when you start nibbling and getting behind, the hitters can smell that fear, and they just get comfy, sit back, and wait for something they can do some damage on. They usually do.
And Austin Riley was talking about Elder, what makes him so good. He said he's got 3 good pitches and he locates. I firmly believe if you locate the ball, it doesn't matter how hard you throw, what you throw, you're going to get outs if you locate. He's doing that right now. So it's been fun to watch.
Yeah. And he's a nice mix. You got Charlie throwing 97. You got Max lefty doing his thing. Strider's throwing 170 uphill or whatever. Then you have it's a nice compliment to the rest of the pitching staff to have a guy come in and just spot up and kind of dice guys a little bit.
Hey, wait, keep along those lines. I got to answer this door real quick. All right, hold on. Go ahead. Keep talking about that Bryce Elder. What he's doing.
Cam, you got any ad reads?
1 second, sir.
No, I don't have any ad reads this second. David obviously has to answer the door. Seems like an important package. But if you aren't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you do so. That helps us out big time. Also, make sure if you aren't subscribed to The Athletic, we always have deals running. If you go to theathletic.com/755 is real, you'll get a nice discount, nice and tidy discount on a subscription for the year. It's like $2 a month, less than a cup of coffee, less than your Starbucks, Dunkin', wherever you go to. And you can read all of David's excellent works. And then whatever additional content we happen to put on The Athletic, you'll have access to, including our live rooms, which we've done periodically over the last year or so, being able to ask David and Eric questions in real time. So if you aren't subscribed to The Athletic, make sure to do that now. Visit theathletic.com/755 is real and get yourself a nice discount.
Sorry about that. This guy has come twice with this thing that I have to sign for. And it said if it didn't sign for it this time, they were going to
you go pick it up.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Just getting back to Acuña, because I had put down some stats for it. The thing that amazes me about Acuña is what he's doing leading off. When we talked about how Snit would be crazy to move him out of the leadoff role, and Snit's not going to. He learned that last year or 2 years ago when he tried briefly. Acuña, whatever there is about him that gets him so locked in, unlike anybody else in the majors, leading off games, leading off the first inning. He got another hit yesterday. He is 13 for 20. He's hitting 650 leading off the first inning. 4 doubles, a homer, 2 walks, just 2 strikeouts, 1682 OPS. And in the first inning, he's had 6 steals and 7 attempts.
He's just such a tough guy to face leading off the game. Starters don't go in the game wanting to pitch somebody careful.
Yeah.
But he can take you deep. And if you walk him, he can swipe a bag off you. Yeah, I think of like Alfonso Soriano when in his prime, when he could do that and run. It's kind of like, it just doesn't work for whatever reason, like you said, in the 3 or 4 hole. But I think he just feeds off of being the guy leading off the game. I think it gets his energy right.
I think Soriano was the best comp in the last 10 years to Acuña too, as far as being one of the fastest 2 or 3 guys in the game when he's healthy, like he is now, having as much power, natural power, generate that power despite being under 200 pounds.
Yep.
I mean, he hit some 450 feet, like
He
almost
swung
routinely.
he swung a huge bat too.
Yep. And they were wiry, strong. Soriano was even ripped more.
Yep.
You know, it's just noticeable. But really, really similar guys with athleticism, just off the charts athleticism. But Acuña was just born to play baseball, man. This guy's it's just a terrific athlete too. Have you ever seen the video of him dunking?
Yeah, he doesn't even know how to jump. He jumped
Exactly.
with both. You know, if you watch any 2-foot jumper, when they're going to approach the rim, they angle their feet.
Yeah.
I saw him dunk, and he ran at the hoop with both feet facing directly at the hoop, jumped up two-handed and dunked it. It's like that video of him dunking, he's probably got another 4 or 5 inches if he angled his feet.
Just a tremendous athlete.
Yeah.
Really is. People, and I think it's great if people appreciate it too, watching him. It's not like they don't. They do appreciate pure athleticism, which you're seeing from him, on top of the swagger and all that. So in his case, the swagger might help because it gets him noticed, and I think it's great that people can see how special this guy is. I mean, you're seeing it's like Austin Riley. We asked him about him leading off, what makes him so good in the first inning, and Austin Riley said, for one, Ronald is a generational player. He's unbelievable, and he's healthy. You're seeing that right now.
Yeah, I can't get over. You know, it's not like I forgot last year. You know, I knew who I was watching, but you're wondering, is he going to be the same? And then you see him, and he's the same, and you're like, I forgot just how – you forget how extreme his athleticism is when he's locked in.
I mean, it's easy to question that. It's because the guy blows out an ACL. In this day and age, most guys return from that at close to 100% or 100%, but it's not a given.
Right.
You know? Just like it's not a given as much as people think it is about TJ. The ACL, even more so, though, is even more of a question mark. It's, I mean, the TJ probably, for guys getting it in the younger in their careers, is probably in the high 90 percentile now, that people returned pretty close to what they were or as good or better because they strengthen everything around it, the shoulders and all that. Yeah. ACL is a little different than that. It's not like you're strengthening everything around your knee, you know.
And then you put so much more force into that joint than throwing.
Right. And you got to get by the psychological stuff that Acuña dealt with last year when he was scared to push that and plant and make those throws he's making now and take every extra base and steal. And,
you know how many guys would have shut it down or taken more time? Like, he wanted to play, and he played through that
last year.
And for your pride too, it's not easy going out there in the major leagues at 70% and having guys get you out that shouldn't be getting you out, or not getting the balls you should be in the outfield. On the big stage, everybody's watching, you know, and not being able to show who you are for fighting through that season and wanting to be out there every day anyway. He deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah, it's like Snit said, none of us really, I don't think we realized how much he was going through. Because he was hurting a lot.
Yep.
And so anyway, all right. Well, Braves have got a chance here like they did last time when they went through a little bit of a rough patch. They got a chance to get it right, kind of like the Reds after they played the Padres at home. They've got the Marlins coming in for 4 before they have a big series, their highly anticipated series, first of the year against the Mets up in New York. And I think with Scherzer dropping his appeal of that 10-game suspension, I think that makes
suspended.
Yeah, he got suspended 10 games. He did. And I think him dropping that appeal makes him eligible. I counted it up for the last game of that series against the Braves. So I don't think it's probably coincidence that he dropped that appeal and just serve it and pitch the final against the Braves in that series.
So he doesn't miss that series, yeah.
Yeah. But the Braves got a chance to really get healthy again this week. And with the 4 against the Marlins, they should win at least 3 of them. I mean, there's no excuse otherwise. Even Alcantara right now is not nearly what he was a year ago. He's still great, obviously, but he's not he isn't off to the kind of start he was a year ago. Their pitching isn't quite as deep as it was. Because last year, even if they were struggling, if you ran up against the right pitchers on that team, you might be lucky to score a run or 2 with the starting pitchers they have, and they're not right there right now. So
I never trust the Marlins. You know, I mean, that's the team you do not want to look past because
no doubt
they sneak up on you a lot.
So. And Chisholm is off to a rough start too. They have him in center field, and he's not hitting like I'm sure he's going to explode here pretty soon. But right now, he doesn't have the numbers right now, so we'll see. But so big week. Braves are still man. It's funny when you build a certain amount of respect in the industry. It's like people will look past a blip rather than if you're building up for the bottom and you move up to 10th in these power rankings that people have, then you get swept by the Astros. You might drop 5 spots. Braves get swept by the Astros, and they're still number 2 in these power rankings. People know that they're a power. I mean,
they should be
so established right now. Yeah, with the pitching they've got and everything, they're in the lineup they've got. So we'll see. It's going to be. I fully expect Olsen and Riley both to break out of these slumps real soon. Olsen's been pretty ugly with the strikeouts, but still got great numbers because when he doesn't strike out, he does some damage.
Crushing the ball.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate it, everybody. 7:55 is real, and we'll be back late in the week from here or from New York. Either one. We'll do one of the two. Probably here Thursday.
Cool.
Thanks. We appreciate it.